HQ in Nashville, Tennessee, to wherever you're cheering on your Tennessee Titans. The So Bros Network presents the Unofficial Titans Podcast.
Welcome back for another episode of the Unofficial Titans Podcast right here on So Bros Network. Mine's right, ass is tight as we tackle episode 131 for you today. It's the EIC at SoBrosNetwork.com. Big Natural Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley. Follow us collectively at TitansPod on Twitter and at So Bros Network on all major social media platforms. Joined by my co-host for the Unofficial Titans Podcast. He is one take Cinderella man coming to us from the dad zone, outspoken Owen Reed. Owen, happy St. Paddy's Day. Do you have any plans, and how are you doing today?
Hey, everybody. Hey, Stoney. Happy Friday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I don't really have any plans. You know, I like to observe privately and with family.
Man, I'm with you. And I talked about it a little bit on the Power Hour this morning. If you're not listening to that podcast, go check it out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you take in your shows. St. Paddy's Day is a big holiday for me. I like it a lot. I got the corned beef and cabbage in the crock pot now. I got some Guinness. Not that I'm already drinking it, of course. I would never drink before noon, especially when I'm on the clock at the day job. Never would dream of that. But it's a big deal for me. We were supposed to have family over, got some plumbing issues going on, had to cancel, super bummed about it, but it's still a good day. Still a good day. So before we get started, no, never mind. I do that at the end of the show. My bad. I'm out of sorts this morning for some reason. You know why I'm so out of sorts, Owen? It's because I'm kind of mad at Titans fans this week for whining about the team not signing any expensive free agents. We'll get into that. But I just kind of want to get your general opinion on it. We can call it a vibe check. What the Titans have done in free agency so far, guys they've lost, guys they've signed. We're going to dig into all that. But vibe check, how are you feeling about the state of the Titans this week?
I'll agree with you. The vibe is kind of weird because for those of us that can't remember that far back, we finished the season with 7 losses in a row, which is awful.
Yeah.
We were mad about it. John Robinson got fired even before it ended. Like, we did a lot. And then we start seeing all these off-season changes where we're not bringing guys back, and fans are getting upset. Like, we're not retaining a Super Bowl squad or something. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm watching the moves that they're making. Guys are letting go, guys they're signing, guys they're bringing back, and I love it, man. Like, their strategy seems to be, we're going to plug holes in free agency, get guys that can either be depth pieces or they can, in most cases, like, these guys are going to be starters. But you are plugging holes in a way that you can go into the draft and just get the best player available. You sign Andre Dillard, you don't desperately need to reach for a left tackle if Paris Johnson's gone in the draft. You get Arden Key, you don't have to take an edge rusher in the first round of the draft if you don't want to. It's, to me, smart decisions. I can't for the life of me understand why anybody would say that the Titans are tanking because they still have Ryan Tannehill right now. So, we must not be trying to win because we've got Ryan Tannehill, despite the fact that Ryan Tannehill has won a lot of fucking games in a two-tone blue uniform. And they're saying, well, we didn't go get Jawan Taylor for $20 million a year. We're tanking. We didn't go get, Jacoby Myers. We're tanking.
It's over. It's over.
We let busted-ass David Long, who couldn't stay healthy and see the field, go to Miami.
What?
Miami paid him a cheap ass. They paid him $11 million. They paid him $11 million for 2 years. I don't know where this crowd came that said David Long was going to get $13 million a year in free agency. The market is telling you folks that the NFL doesn't covet David Long very highly. It's not that he's a bad player. David Long's a really good player when he's healthy, but there are legitimate health concerns there. It's just not in this team's DNA to tank. And I don't know how much it really happens, because people like to bring up the examples of, was it a couple years ago, Doug Peterson rested Eagles starters and Washington won the game when some playoff seeding was on the line or something like that. It's like, oh, well, they're tanking for a better draft pick. I didn't think that was the case. I thought they just kind of knew they were going to lose the game, and they wanted to see some of their younger players to get an evaluation for them. You have to stop and think, Owen, about what it would take to really tank in the NFL. You have to consciously put bad players on the field, sign bad players, let all your good players go, and then week in and week out, you have to craft a game plan that is going to ensure you're going to lose as many games as possible. It's hard to do. And what we know...
Houston does it season after season, and we appreciate them for it. It's an art form at this point. The Texans will forever suck.
Our buddy Sean's catching some strays this week if he's listening to the show. It's hard to do, man. And from what we know about Mike Vrabel from all of his years in the NFL, he went on a fucking podcast and said he would chop off his own damn dick to win a Super Bowl, and he's already got a Super Bowl ring. Like, this man is not going to lose on purpose to get a quarterback next year when everybody's hyping up Caleb Williams and Drake May. And it's nonsense to me. You can't count on the future. You can't bet on the future. You have to build the team to win today. Because if you don't, you lose your fucking jobs. You lose your fucking jobs, and then guess what? We're on to a new regime, new head coach, new GM. We're starting all over again. It is dumb. The Titans are not tanking. Owen, what do you make of this mess where Titans fans, this sect of the fan base, is saying that the team is tanking to get Caleb Williams?
I don't know. That sounds silly to me, and I don't usually have a productive conversation with people like that. So I just tend to leave them alone and let them enjoy their season their way.
It's like a crying baby. Like, sometimes you just got to let it cry itself to sleep and just walk away. I get it.
Stoney, if you ever find a crying baby, please don't walk away from it.
I don't have kids. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You're right. I need to be careful when I say things like that. I'd also like to point out, for everybody that is sitting here now, here and today, talking about Caleb Williams or Drake May, we have no fucking clue if they're going to be good next season, or if they're even going to be the top-ranked quarterbacks come next draft. I would point back to Jake Locker. It went back in 2010. Everybody was saying, oh, if Jake Locker comes out, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Best quarterback in college football. The next Aaron Rodgers. A year later, he slides. Now, the Titans picked him at 11, I think, or it might have been in the top 10 in 2011. Then it was even considered a reach. He fell. The stock falls. Shit happens. Last year, Spencer Rattler was supposed to be the number 1 quarterback in the draft. Spencer Rattler fucking sucks, okay? I'm sorry. Sam Howell, the same thing. Sam Howell was going to be a top 10 draft pick, and he goes in the 5th round to Washington.
You were not kidding when you said you were going to name names today. I am a gawk.
I'm trying to illustrate a point here. Like, we have gotten out of control here as a fan base. Like, just settle the fuck down, people. Just calm down. Calm down and wait to see what happens in the draft. And then, people probably get tired of hearing me say this because I've said it a lot on this show, Owen. But if you're going to whine, bitch, and moan about every little thing that this team does, and because they don't spend $100 million, when, by the way, like, the Chicago Bears have like fucking $400 million fucking dollars in cap space, it seems like. The Titans don't have that kind of money anyway. But if you're going to whine, bitch, and moan about how this team's not doing anything, if it's raising your blood pressure that much, stressing you out that much, why are you even a fan of this team? Like, go find something else to be your outlet, your break from the real world. Find another team to root for. I don't fucking care. At the end of the day, we're still fans. This is still a community to give us a break from our everyday lives. It's not that serious, folks. It is not that serious. The team's not tanking. I'm not even going to back off of this can still be a championship contender next year.
Whoa.
Because of the team's DNA, the holes they're filling, I think this is a really deep draft to find potential starters. Maybe they don't have the quarterback of the future in 2023, but guess what? Ryan Tannehill's still a pretty damn good quarterback. If that ends up being your guy, it could be a lot worse. Just look at the guy that's backing him up right now, for fuck's sake. Like, just people got to calm down. That's all. That's my rant. I will calm down, and we can effectively get through the rest of this show, Owen. But anything to add to that? Look what y'all did to
Stoney. Look what you did to him. Look what you did to my boy. He's a beautiful Titans fan, and you crushed his inner child. He's done.
I feel like I'm usually a pretty chill, laid back, fun loving guy. I got, a real sarcastic, dry sense of humor that some people can't tell when I'm kidding and when I'm not, but that's about the extent of my extremism, I guess. But man, these I almost said something that would have really been unhinged. I'll tell you after the show.
Whoa. But, I can only imagine the word that was going to come next.
I don't usually get this worked up and angry, but I'm tired of seeing that stuff on my timeline this week. That's all I'll say. Okay, deep breaths. As we approach the second, third, whatever waves of free agency, right? The initial splash is over with, and now we are kind of getting through the minutia of who's left. It's been reported 3 different guys on the trading block. Earlier, we've talked about this before, Ryan Tannehill. I bring him up again because we find out that Aaron Rodgers wants to play for the Jets, and they're trying to work out a deal there. The Jets seemed like the most likely trade partner for Ryan Tannehill, and now that's an option that's off the board. I think they could still move him if they want to package. I'm going to send Titans fans down another spiral with this, but they could package Tannehill and Henry with some draft picks and maybe move up to Carolina to take that number 1 overall pick if they wanted. As time goes on, though, Owen, I kind of feel like with the Jets out of play right now, it seems more and more likely with each passing day that Ryan Tannehill is just going to be the Titans quarterback in 2023. What do you make of the situation with him right now?
Yeah, you're kind of at this point seeing the pieces fall into place. Mm-hmm. Teams are either, making the moves and getting these trades settled, or just going into free agency and picking up what they can find. So there's not really a huge market for that,
Yeah.
I don't see any GM just dying to have Tannehill where they can't find something else just as good somewhere else cheaper.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I kind of, entertained the idea at the beginning of the offseason, but as it went along, it kind of seems like Tannehill's going to be the guy.
If he is the guy in 2023, are you cool with that? I mean, do you think this can still be a competitive football team with him at the helm?
Yeah, it's really not too often a question of, is Tannehill good enough? Lately, it's been kind of that health issue that kept him out of a lot of last season. So that's kind of the thing I'm a little more hesitant about.
Sure.
So I don't feel unconfident with him at the helm. It's just how long he's going to be there.
Fair enough. Derrick Henry, the rumors aren't going away, man. They it came out at the combine. They were shopping him. Then they said they weren't shopping him. And now it seems that the general consensus is they're listening to offers for him while not actively dangling him out there to try and get somebody to pick him up. Derrick Henry on the trading block, I get the vision behind it. You want to, if you're going to move him while he still has some value. Maybe you can get a draft pick for him. At this point, though, I don't know. I don't know that he moves until the season starts and a guy gets hurt and a team needs a running back to go on a Super Bowl run or something like that. You think about I don't know, the 49ers, if Christian McCaffrey goes down in November, maybe they pick up the phone. Well, the trade deadline would be passed by then, but you get the general sentiment there. I'm kind of in the same boat with Henry. I think I think if this team's going to be competitive in 2023, they need Derrick Henry. I understand moving on from him at this point, and that's all well and good. But with each day that passes and there's not news on him, I'm kind of in the same boat as I am with Tannehill. Like, I kind of feel like Henry's just going to be back and, going to play out his deal, at least for 2023. Where do you stand on the Henry situation and what they should do with him right now?
The trade value out there is just, it's non-existent once again. It's similar to Tannehill, like, getting a third or fourth round draft pick for the production you're going to get out of Henry this year just doesn't seem rational even.
Yeah.
So I also don't see him going on the move.
Now, this is one that we talked about a couple of weeks ago that nobody wanted to face, myself included. And I will give my guy Zach Lyons of A Football Show and Football and Other F Words credit for putting it out there into the universe. Kevin Byard, massive cap hits this year and next year. Michael Lombardi, who, I mean, listen, he's connected in the NFL. On the podcast, the GM Shuffle or whatever it's called, I don't know. Sean put it in the Sobro Slack. I'll give Sean credit for passing it along. Talks about the Titans trying to get Kevin Byard to take a pay cut. If he doesn't do it, they're going to cut him. They're going to try and trade him. Point being, sounds like it's being reported that the Titans are trying to either save some money on that deal or they're going to walk away from Kevin Byard. Now, national guys are more connected than the local guys in stuff like this because of the agents and the GMs talking and all that. I respect to Michael Lombardi. If you're struggling to pronounce the player's name, I'm sorry, but it looks a certain way, and I don't know how reliable the information is that you're getting, bro. And again, like, all due respect, I don't mean to call it into question, but he's the only person that's saying this right now. No one else is. It makes sense to try and save cash on that Kevin Byard contract because it's awful for where they are right now. But he's a pretty important piece to the defense right now. What do you make of this Kevin Byard news and the rumors going around that the Titans are trying to get him to take a pay cut?
Yeah, as you were like explaining that whole thing, I was just like, who is reporting this? Because it just sounds so oddly specific and personal that, I just, like I said, I'm not a big fan of social media off the front. Sean Atkins sends me about 30 Twitter links from 30 Twitter reporters a day, breaking news to me. I'm like, man, I don't care at all about this. So, like, and that's one of my best friends in the world. Like, I just don't care. So, that's another one of those situations where I'm like, man, either this guy is just Kevin Byard's, nephew or something and just has the biggest scoop of all, or this is just like online bullshit. So I won't even entertain the fact that there is any truth to it because, find your source. Doesn't sound like a good one. But I do agree. It's a rough contract to have. I don't know if they'll shop him around. There's potential, but, I hadn't seen anything that would lead me to believe it.
Let's talk about the guys that they lost. David Long Jr. goes to Miami. Nate Davis gets $10 million a year from the Chicago Bears. DeMarcus Walker also going to Chicago for $7 million, I believe. I didn't write it down because I'm a shitty journalist. But DeMarcus Walker is a Chicago Bear. That's the point to take away for this topic of discussion. The three guys that they lose, I'll weigh in. David Long Jr., the writing was on the wall, okay? If we know the type of coach that Mike Vrabel is, very loyal to his people, very protective of his players. When he came out in a press conference and named fucking names and said soft tissue injuries happen, guys don't know how to train them properly, or they're not willing to train them properly. And then he names specifically David Long Jr. and Christian Fulton. We should have known that David Long Jr. was not going to be a Tennessee Titan. I was joking behind the scenes off of Twitter that Mike Vrabel probably spit in his face on the way out the door too. Like, of course, I'm joking. I don't think Mike Vrabel really hated David Long. But I think the sentiment was, this guy can't play for us because we can't trust him to stay healthy, because he's not doing the things that staying healthy requires in the NFL. Nate Davis, I kind of feel like might have been one of those 8-4 guys that we talked about throughout the end of the season there. I'm surprised because $10 million a year is not all that much for one of the best run blocking guards in all of football, but it kind of seems like an attitude thing. Like maybe he didn't mesh that well, and they're just wanting to blow things up and move on, which I think they are trying to get better in pass protection considering the offensive linemen that they've signed so far. But Nate Davis going, I get. DeMarcus Walker is the one for me, Owen, that I really wish they could have gotten a deal done because he had a breakout season. I know he's getting older. He's no spring chicken or anything like that, but the defensive line, there goes a burp. Okay, cool. We're professionals here. The defensive line, the strength of this defense, and he was a key part of it last season. Man, I was bummed to see him go, but I'm happy to see him get his payday as well. Talking about these three guys, were any of these surprises to you that they weren't re-signed by the Titans, and what do you make of where they landed?
No, I don't feel too surprised by any of this. David Long, like you said, got called out. We kind of we're absolutely seeing it more now, but all last season you saw the divide between, Vrabel's guys and J-Rob's guys.
Yeah, sure.
And you're kind of seeing J-Rob's guys maybe clear house. Probably not a good sign for Malik Willis.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the growing pains that you have to go through. So, no, I'm not shocked by any of them. Some were obvious, some a little more. You kind of wish it worked out with Walker. I agree. But not major losses, I don't think.
Yeah, I like Walker, but you absolutely, given the needs that you have right now, you can't pay a rotational defensive lineman $7 million right now. You need that money for other things right now, and it sounds like they're going to keep Tier Tart, hopefully, and they've got some good pieces there. So I think they can draft, they can sign a guy to replace him, but productive season in 2022. All right, let's talk about the guys that they did sign. This is where the philosophical approach, man, it tightens my jinkos, if you know what I'm saying, because Rand Carthon is going in and he's filling holes, players that can contribute, getting them on relatively cheap deals, but they're players that still have a ton of upside that if they play their best football, they could become difference makers for the Titans. I look at Andre Dillard. Tackle guard versatility. He's really athletic. If you look at him from a pure traits standpoint, right? Just the athleticism, dynamic, explosiveness, that sort of thing. He looks a lot like Taylor Lewan. Now, I would say the thing that distinguishes the two is tenacity. I watched a lot of Andre Dillard tape this week. I did a film study of my own. It's up on SoBrosNetwork.com. I don't think you see the finish. I don't think you see the aggression that you saw in Taylor Lewan. I mean, people underestimate what a nasty streak Lewan had, man. He would just get out there and put you in the fucking dirt. And you don't see that a lot in run blocking from Andre Dillard, but I still think he can be a really good pass protector. Something I alluded to earlier is like maybe this team is kind of shifting towards pass protection, passing the ball more, kind of modernizing their offense for the rest of the NFL. I think that's encouraging. Also on the offensive line, they get Daniel Brunskill, played a right guard. Left guard, I think. I mean, he's got some versatility too. He's another tough guy. There's a clip going around Titans Twitter of him just completely washing some guy named Aaron Donald out of a play. Like, he still has some good football in front of him. And then getting Azeez Al-Shaair, I feel like that's the David Long replacement right there. Similar skill set, loves ball, versatility, that sort of thing. Arden Key, there's your Bud Dupree stopgap. I mean, an emerging, ascending talent in the NFL that had a good season with Jacksonville, completely put Dennis Daly on skates and put his butt on the turf in the last Jags game of the season. Really good, productive player. And then they get Luke Gifford, who is going to be one of those rotational special teams linebackers. So to me, I'm looking at all of these signings and I'm saying, man, Owen, these guys could become like really good starters for the Titans. And at worst, they're really good depth. You've got the trajectory there. What do you make of this class that the Titans have signed so far?
Yeah, I think you were spot on with how you started this. It was just kind of seemed like versatile players that there's a lot of good tape on and a lot of things that you like when you bring them in. That could be pieces that build up to a functioning team, and that's what we need now.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that it kind of frees them up in the draft to just go best player available, which is where you want to be as a roster. That's how you build. That's how you get your cornerstone pieces, man. It's not like, shit, we gotta take a left tackle. We need one. Paris Johnson's gone, so I guess we're gonna draft Jalen Duncan here. Like, that's how you end up with bad draft picks. And I feel like now the Titans are in a position where, okay, they have Andre Dillard, so maybe they don't have to go left tackle. Maybe they can kind of ride it out with him for a little bit before they have to address it. Maybe you can go and get the best cornerback in this draft then. Maybe you can get the best center in this draft. Maybe you can get the best right tackle in the draft. Go Darnell Wright from the Vols and then kick Nicholas Petit-Frere inside. I mean, there's so many. Do what?
Go Big Orange.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, okay. All right, buddy. Settle down now. But I'm saying, like, you can go multiple positions now, and that's a good spot to be in. So I really like what they've done so far. They've also tendered a few guys. Naquan Jones, one of those defensive tackle rotation pieces that I alluded to earlier, signed his exclusive rights free agent tender. He'll be back. Really good run stuffer, big body in the middle. When the Titans deploy a true nose tackle, that's your guy right there. Like having him back. I've really liked the work that he's put in so far. And then they put a second round tender on Aaron Brewer and Tier Tart. So basically, you know, they can go explore the market. There's another burp coming up. This is great. Just great. They can go explore the market. And then if they find a deal and the Titans allow them to accept the deal, the Titans get a second round pick for it. And that's a really good spot to be in. I don't know what the market is going to be like for either of these guys. My gut says that they're both going to be Tennessee Titans in 2023. I've got a film study of Tier Tart on Sobros Network. I think he's great. I don't think he's the type of guy, they don't deploy him on every snap. I mean, he comes in for a drive or two at a time, and then they pull him. And then later on, he'll come in for a drive or two, and then they'll pull him. So I think that sort of ceiling limits his market value. And ultimately, he's going to end up back here with the Titans. He's got a great first step, powerful guy, can disrupt from, you know, the middle of the line. He's a great interior pass rusher, good piece to have. I think he's back. And then, man, Aaron Brewer, maybe not suited to play left guard in the NFL. Felt like there was a play every week where he was just getting mowed down because he is a little smaller. Has experience at center, more athletic. I think that's where his future is. I think he's going to be the starting center for this team as it stands now in 2023. What do you make of these three guys, and do you think it's the right call to bring them back?
Yeah, as best as possible. I like that you know they're searching their options. If we end up with a draft pick, great. But I don't think it's a huge loss or a huge gain either way.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you there. Nick Westbrook-Akine set Titans Twitter on fire yesterday because they announced that they signed him to a one-year deal. They didn't tender him. He hit free agency, tested the market, and came back to the Titans, which basically tells you like there was no market for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Ends up signing a 1-year deal here, and now like it's all doom and gloom. Everybody thinks, this is the worst thing ever. I still think NWI is a guy that Titans fans should be rooting for. All these summers, they fall in love with these undrafted free agents in training camp, and they say they're going to be the fucking future, and they just need a shot. NWI gets a shot, and he plays pretty well for his role. When NWI sucked, it was because they were trotting him out there as the number one guy. If you can put him back in his 4th or 5th slot, he's a decent player. I don't know why we're so mad about this, Owen. NWI, go. Shit.
Stoney, when I saw the news that we re-signed Nick Westbrook-Ikhine for another year, I was so personally happy for you. Like, I thought Stoney's going to be ecstatic when he sees this news. So, if everybody else in Titans Nation can, go to hell, if the host of my show's happy, I'm happy. Let's have him around for another season.
Man, good for NWI. I mean, I know it's not going to be a big payday. I don't think details of the contract are out yet. But, I mean, to get that contract, to make that money, man, like that's his livelihood, Like, that's another year in the NFL, making NFL money, setting himself up for life after football. I don't mean to talk like he's some scrub that should be thankful that he's even getting paid by an NFL team. I don't mean to make it sound like that, but there's no inclination. Again, signing NWI to a 1-year deal does not tell you that the Titans are tanking. It just doesn't. Like, this is a good player when he's cast in the right spot. So I think they're still going to sign a free agent wide receiver. I think they're going to draft a receiver pretty early. And then you have Kyle Phillips coming back. You still have Treylon Burks. Those are your top 4 wide receivers. After that, you got NWI. That's a good spot to be in. Good run blocker, reliable. He doesn't separate, but you're not going to be asking him to go up against Jalen Ramsey on every play. And then he plays special teams. Like, miss me with this sucks. The offense is doomed because they re-signed NWI. Miss me with that talk. I'm cool with it. And thank you for supporting me in that, Owen, by the way. I don't want to lose sight of that. Still available wide receivers, like I just talked about. I expect them to sign a free agent somewhere. I still really like Mac Hollins from the Raiders. Really good run blocker. He's given the Titans fits in the past. I think you can get him for a pretty good deal. Richie James, inside slot receiver. I don't know how he's going to be viewed by this coaching staff and this front office because they're talking about wanting, fast, physical, violent, versatile guys. And I don't really know how versatile he is, so I don't know how they're going to view him, but 2 guys that I would like from the receiver position. And then, hey, if this team does decide that they want to move on from Kevin Byard, Julian Love and Landon Collins are still out there. The safety position, to me, is something worth keeping our eyes on. Might tip their hand a little bit about what they're doing with the roster there as it is. Any free agents still available at this point that you think, Owen, would be a good fit for this Titans team?
I've been keeping up with coverage. Nothing's really caught my eye, if I'm being honest. I've more been just keeping up with the league as a whole because I just hadn't seen anything. I'm not sure what the identity is still. I think that's for our GM and our head coach to figure out in the downtime we have. But I don't know if I see any big fits for us.
I'm kind of with you, man. I like what they got in Brunskill and Dillard. So I think, and then I do think that Brewer will probably be back. I guess I'd say Corey Levin, because I do think Corey Levin played well for the Titans down the stretch when they needed him at center. And maybe you put them together and you have yourself a bona fide little competition for starting center in 2023. But I think that first wave, I mean, you got the pieces that you needed. So now anything that they pick at this point, I feel like is just going to be depth or a role player. So I'm kind of I'm kind of with you. Like, we made it through that first wave. Everybody, all the big names have landed somewhere. So that's just, I don't know. I mean, let's turn our attention to the draft. That's what I'm doing anyway. I wrote about C.J. Stroud, Broderick Jones on SoBrosNetwork.com and Cam Peoples as well, the running back out of App State. That's all up there at SoBrosNetwork.com. There's like 20 new player evaluations on my big board that's available through Patreon. $5 a month, get you instant access, patreon.com/SoBrosNetwork. It is draft season, my man. So we made it. We made it through. This was cathartic for me. Thank you for letting me yell into a microphone for 40 minutes today. I'm going to take a deep breath, and then I'm going to move on with my life. Owen, you got any parting thoughts before we get on out of here?
I started out feeling good, and I still feel good, and I hope next time you hear me, I'm good too then.
Man, ain't that all we can hope for? All we can hope for. Well, remind our listeners of where they can find you on social media.
You can't find me nowhere because I'm not on there publicly. If you do want to hear anything that I have to say or think or feel, in time to time, I even write them down. It's all through Bros Network.
How about that? Let them know. I'm at Stoney Keeley. Together, we're at Titans Pod on Twitter, at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. All of our work is up at SoBrosNetwork.com, SoBrosShop.com. Go get you the Coach Better, Play Better t-shirt. It's payday. Support the team if you feel so inclined. Again, the Patreon, whole bunch of exclusive stuff up there. The Movie Review Rewind podcast, the Sobros Sit Down podcast, the Sobros Collectors Room, the Patreon Files, the Sports Punch podcast, and of course, Sobros Short Fiction. There's poetry. The recipe book is up there. There's a book club, all kinds of stuff up there. $5 a month gets you instant access to this exhaustive content library. Patreon.com/Sobros Network. Subscribe to the Unofficial Titans podcast on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Wherever you take in your shows, we are out in these internet streets, baby. For Cinderella Man, outspoken, Cinderella Man, one take O. Outspoken Owen Reed. I'll get it right eventually.
That's me.
I am Big Natural Stoney Keeley, and until next time, you stay classy, Titans fans.